Hello, good evening, Oral Gibbs, and welcome to Speaking of Everything. And with me this evening is none other than this lady. She's the former Minister of Education, Sports, Culture, and Youth Affairs.
Culture, Youth, and Sports Affairs.
It's good to have you in the program this evening. How are you doing, Mrs. Lawrence?
I'm fine, and it's been a while since we have spoken, but I'm looking forward to this conversation this evening.
Well, thank you for accepting my invitation. And I know you have been a third Minister of Education since St. Martin became a country in the kingdom, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So how has the experience been for you? Because now you're retired, I understand, you're no longer,
yes. Yeah. I no longer work a 9-to-5 job, but I'm just as busy. The experience as a minister for me was a very interesting experience, because I have been in education, as you mentioned, for many years, and I've seen what's been happening on the ground, what's been happening at secondary and at elementary schools, and even at higher education. And so I was able to have a good helicopter view of what was happening in not only in education but in the ministry itself, because I was also head of a department in that ministry, having access to information regarding the other parts like culture, youth, and sports. So it was a very interesting experience. It was very demanding, but it wasn't overwhelming. I must say that, and I learned a lot. It was part of a journey. And I believe that the persons who hold that position, it's a lot of work. You don't have any private time as such. But if you can organize yourself and inform yourself, it can be done.
So you say it's a 24/7 job?
It is, it is, it is. You have no private life as such. And you have to be careful of what you say, when you say, where you are, you know. It's a little bit restrictive.
I guess if I had to ask you what the most, what you dislike most about the job, I think it will be that.
Yes, yeah, I am a fairly private person, and I like my privacy, so I miss that sometimes, that you were always under the microscope. Yeah.
But seeing your background, you didn't go in there as a person that didn't know anything about education, because you was principal of one of the big high schools in St. Martin too.
I was principal of the St. Martin Academy for, well, I was with the St. Martin Academy for 22 years, but principal for 14.
All right.
And then I went to head the Innovation Bureau, as we called it in that day, and I was there for about 12 years, being involved with project management of education, with the new innovations that came in place. And so being a minister was just another step in the same direction, and so I thought it was, okay, a part of my journey. Let me put it that way.
Well, I think if anyone understood the education was you, because of your background, all the areas that you had really covered over the years.
Yes, I can say without being conceited that I do understand education. I do love education. I am always preaching that a country is as rich as its educational resources, and education provides the opportunity for a country to grow and to develop. And I don't think that we take it as seriously as we should. You know, I'm even talking like parents. I have seen in the past that sometimes parents just take it for granted that we have schools, their children can go to school, but they're not paying keen attention regarding what their children are learning, what the children want to become. How can they facilitate their children to go in the direction of study or work that they would like to do. So we as a whole, the adults, I think, have to pay more attention to what is happening in schools. And then I see education as not only what happens in schools, but what happens in your homes, because your first educators would be your parents and your family circle. And we have to pay attention that we don't get the responsibilities shifted, you know, and
Right.
you hear teachers indicating nowadays that they have to be mothers, they have to be psychologists, they have to be all kinds of things, which in a way they have to be, but sometimes the burden of parenting is placed on a teacher, and that's not her task for the 7 hours that she has a child, you know? So we have to bear our responsibility as adults when it regards the education of our children.
And you're very involved, because I got a surprise. I'm going to ask you to read it. And it's something I admire about you, but I'm going to ask you to please read it, and then I'll tell you why I gave it to you.
Wow! It reads, "A certificate of appreciation to Oral Gibbs on February the 28th, 1997, for your contribution to the culture of St. Martin and Multicultural Week, with sincere thanks, students, staffs, and principal of St. Martin Academy." We used to have these cultural expressions weeks in February.
Right.
And I remember you coming there and being part of it. Oh my goodness, this is something to treasure.
You know,
Yeah.
I wanted to surprise you with
Oh,
it, because,
wow.
you know, it's the first time I was ever invited to a
the
school to speak,
yes.
and the last time I was.
Oh yes, oh my goodness.
But I really enjoyed it.
Yes, and we appreciated it.
And I thought it was so good. I want to thank you today again, because too often, you know, our young people don't get a chance to hear from different people. They hear from the same people all the time,
Yes.
and that's not good.
Yes, and they get a one-sided view of things, and I believe that young adults, persons who are growing up, must be able to be critical of what they're hearing, what they're seeing, and make their own judgment as to what is right and what is wrong. I think that we are in an ideal situation where we are geographically located, and our means of exposure to the United States, to the rest of the Caribbean, to South America, we are placed in such a position where we can experience so many different cultures. Today, I was speaking with 5 students, they're interns from Germany. And they're about 25 years old, and it is the first time that they're leaving Germany. You know,
And coming to St. Martin?
no, just leaving Germany.
Yeah.
You know, I asked, have you been to the Netherlands? Have you been elsewhere? Our children have those opportunities.
Yeah.
To not only go to Europe, but to go to Caribbean islands, to go to South America. And they were so excited because they didn't realize that in this part of the world, people live a normal life.
Yeah.
So we are privileged, and sometimes we don't appreciate it.
And I think, too, when you look at the changes we've gone through as an island in education, we had a period of time. I remember when I first started this program back in 1984, my 4th guest on the program was Minister Jack Ferris.
Yes, Mr. Ferris, Minister of Education
Right.
at that time, yes.
And for the Nelson Antilles.
Yes.
And the whole discussion was centered around education and English as a language of
Yes,
instruction.
yes.
Here we are at 2050.
We're still talking about it. We're still talking about it. We're still debating it. And my view on that is that it shouldn't be one or the other. It should be all that we can be.
Exactly.
And I believe that we should be multilingual and be taught multilingually, because the people that we have to deal with are speaking different languages.
Yeah.
Today, again, I was speaking with someone, and they said their first impression of St. Martin was that they were a bit confused because they stood in a line in a bank, and there were 5 people in front of them, and there were 5 people speaking 5 different languages. you know, and it's a plus that we do not recognize.
Yeah.
But for people who only speak one language and know one language, they're always fascinated by that.
Yeah, we take it for granted.
Yeah, we take a lot for granted, a lot.
You know, foundation-based education was what? One of the biggest...
One of the major innovations that were made for elementary education. Secondary education had gone through different changes over the years, and it was the first major change in about 20 years that was made. Foundation-based education, people have twisted themselves, bent themselves out of shape, responding to it. But in truth and in fact, foundation-based education is basically elementary education. If you were to compare the curriculum of foundation-based education with a curriculum of Australia, of Caribbean islands, of Canada, it's the same content. It's the same content because those are the things that a child in elementary education needs to know. What might be different is the mode of delivery. How is it to be delivered? And that is where I think we had the biggest challenges. It is a child-centered type of program, and the teacher is a facilitator of transmission of knowledge. We tend to feel that kids, you know, people, when I say we, people tend to feel that kids don't know things. Kids are very, very intelligent, and they don't come into school empty. They come into school with some knowledge and experience. And what foundation-based education is supposed to do is to take them from that stage of their knowledge, their experience, and bring them to the point where they can achieve certain attainment targets. There are attainment targets right throughout foundation-based education, which the teacher has a responsibility to facilitate the child to reach those targets. And to be honest with you, I have just recently sent a copy of the foundation-based curriculum to the University of the Virgin Islands, who would want to look at it and make use of it for the training of their teachers. So we are here complaining about how much work it is, what has to be done, and there are others who would like to make use of it in their own environment.
Well, I think the reason why they're complaining about the work factor is that from education professionals, I understand that there should be more than one teacher in the classroom.
Yes, you should have a teacher, an educational assistant. Not a teacher assistant, an educational assistant, and there's a slight difference between both. The teacher assistant assists the main teacher with tasks, you know, helping with the books and so on. The educational assistant actually helps with the teaching of children maybe in smaller groups, or a child that is having a difficulty, he can take him apart, sit with him and teach him. Right. And yes, foundation-based education calls for that type of assistance in a classroom. It has not been widely used. There are some schools that make use of it, but a lot of it has to do with the fact that you need trained educational assistants. Not anybody can do that.
So we have a shortage, you'll
say? There is a shortage of educational assistants, but I understand that USM is trying to bring back a program where you can certify persons to be educational assistants. So in maybe 2 years' time, you will have another batch of educational assistants coming out of USM.
Yeah, because when you look at, it seems like we have a shortage all over. I had the Minister of Justice and Deputy Prime Minister recently. He said, we need 340 police officers. We only have 220. When it comes to teachers, do we need a lot of teachers still?
Let me put it this way. The teacher population is is aging.
Okay.
And you need a new set of young, dynamic, 21st century type of teachers. I'm not by any way saying that the more mature teachers are not needed. They are needed for their experience and so on. But to deal with the child of today,
Yeah.
you really need a lot of energy, and you really need to be on the cutting edge of what is happening, because you have kids coming into school who are very competent in the use of an iPad. And you're going to tell that child, oh, look up on the board and I'm going to write a sentence on the board. You are frustrating that child because he has learned in a different modality. He has learned things by researching as young as 5 years old. They know how to look for things on the internet or within the sphere of their limitation, of course. And they can search for things on their own. They can look for things on their own. They can work things out on a computer on their own. But we do not have the means as yet to, let's say, have whiteboards in every room and every child with a laptop. But that's how I think we have to go. That's the place we have to go.
And you know, unfortunately, it comes with some disadvantages too.
Yes, it does. But you have to know what are you training the children for? To live in a world that is very technically. You know, you need technical skills in this world. So you train them, but you train them the ethics of making use of this type of equipment.
But I think you're right, because if you look in television, we've moved from analog to digital.
Yes.
And over the years, everything in here is computerized.
Yes, certainly.
And if you don't have an understanding of computers, you can't deal with it and fix the problem. So that's the world today.
Yeah, even you go to a train station abroad.
Yeah.
You better will know how to use that machine, you know, and get your train ticket, or you're going to stand up there and don't get anywhere. You know, even paying your bills here now, you know, you can pay online. You must know how to manipulate the computer.
But you still feel we've come a long way in education, Simran?
I still feel so, and I think, but there's room for us to grow. And my agony right now is the fact that we are a little bit schizophrenic about vocational education.
Why you say that?
I say that because you are aware too, I am aware that any country that has developed, it is the vocational education part of their system that has propelled the development.
Right.
The doctors and the lawyers and the teachers are good, we need them. But they are not the ones that you need to have your economies develop.
Right.
It is the people in vocational education. And so we kind of look down our noses at students and schools that provide vocational education. But on the other hand, we are complaining that we are bringing in too many unskilled people, skilled and unskilled people from abroad. In order to stop that, we need to have a different type of attitude and put more effort into our vocational education. And you will see our country develop much quicker.
I agree, because we don't put emphasis on it, and we really look down on it, and it's important.
It is the most important thing. I told somebody, God forbid we have a hurricane again.
Yeah.
But who did we need after the hurricane? The electricians and the plumbers, and those are the people we needed. We couldn't live without them, you know? And yeah, we still didn't do very much about that.
It looked like you overheard my conversation that I was speaking with my brother today. I was telling him I'm praying not for a hurricane to come, because I can't deal with a situation where we have so many people that are unskilled in construction, etc. But we need to work in the vocational education
Yes, we certainly do. We certainly do.
And I think that once we get around to understanding, you can make a very good living.
Yes, they do. They work for more money than a whole lot of us. $80 a day, $100 a day, that's a lot of money, you know?
You know, when you look at Simradin today, and there's also young people who, for whatever reason, could not finish their high school and now taking GED and so forth. You think that program is still needed on the island?
Yes, I believe everybody deserves a second chance. Sometimes we want to judge persons who have dropped out of school, but we can't. There are several reasons. Some of it is motivation, some of it is your home environment and your situation that you find yourself in at a certain time. You're not able to continue school. But I believe in a second chance, and I believe in providing a second chance and encouraging persons to improve yourself. As old as I am, Oral, I still like to study. And just today I heard about a course that I would like to do, you know?
Yeah.
And I believe in lifelong learning. You never stop learning. You never stop learning. And you can switch too, you know? Along the way, you can switch and do something that you really love or have the gifting for. So things like GED, second chance, any type of second chance education, I think is always needed.
And how it looks for us in terms of higher education?
Well, I happen to be in conversations with the acting president of USM. And they're going through a very exciting period at this moment. They have a new strategic plan, and in that plan, one of the goals is that in every household in St. Martin, they will have at least one person having obtained an associate degree. Besides that, and I asked permission if I could speak about it from the president this afternoon, they are embarking on an endeavor called UVI at USM, where a physical campus of the University of the Virgin Islands would be located at USM. What that means is that students won't have to leave home, and they can do the same courses that are done at UVI at our local location at USM. On top of that, they are exploring the possibility to encourage, I don't want to call it educational tourism, but it is something like that, where a lot of the students from the other Caribbean islands who might not want to go through the hassle of having, getting immigration visas and those kinds of things, US visas, having to pay out-of-state tuition and so on, would be able to attend UVI that is located at USM.
Oh, that's a good idea.
It is a wonderful idea, and recently I was privileged to sit in an information session with 47 teachers and others, counselors who are interested in starting a Masters in Education leadership course that will start here in St. Martin, provided by UVI at USM. And they were really interested, and I'm working with USM to really have this up and running by September. So there are lots of things happening at that end. There has been some changes in the management of USM, and they are making several articulation agreements with other universities, just like how they used to have with Johnson's and Wales. Yeah. They actually, next week, there are persons coming down from a university in England to work out the details of a partnership between USM and this university. What it means is that students will do their first 2 years at USM and then have the opportunity to finalize their bachelor's degree in England or at any other university that that particular university has an alliance with.
That sounds good.
So I think it's a great thing for our kids. They are more stabilized here for the first 2 years and then be able to have an international experience.
Well, I hope more of our young people will go to the University of St. Martin.
Yes, yes. We are looking forward to that.
Well, I know I want to thank you for coming in and being my guest on the program this evening. I also want to thank you for your service to St. Martin. You've been in education for many, many years.
Don't say the number of years, please. But it's been a long time.
You know, and you've really played a very vital role in education, and I think we should thank you for that and continue doing the good work.
I am humbled by what you have just said. I have always done it with all of my heart. because I really believe in education, and I believe that every individual deserves the best education that is available to them. And I want to thank you also for having me here on this program.
Well, again, thank you for coming and much success.
Thank you.
All right, and that's it for now. I'll see you next time at the same time. Till then, good night. Take care. Bye.